future of tech with Governor Joe Lombardo of Nevada, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, and Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia. Moderated by Senior Fellow, International Economic Policy, Center for American Progress, Mr. Ryan Mulholland.
Wow, what a room, what a privilege and an honor to be here today. My name is Ryan Mulholland. I'm a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress. But up until recently, I was a civil servant at the Commerce Department. It's been 15 years in the International Trade Administration. So today's topics, economic development, investment attraction, technology innovation, are things that I've thought a lot about, worked on for a number of years. So I will say personally, I'm very excited for today's conversation. We're joined by four leading governors in this country: Governor Youngkin, Governor Whitmer, Governor Pritzker, and Governor Lombardo. I think given the topic, given how short a time we have, perhaps we can just sort of jump right into the conversation. Just so you all know and our panelists know, this is not a debate. For those of you sort of schooled in American politics, we have one of those coming up soon. This is more of a conversation, right? This is a conversation amongst people who are all interested in attracting investment and have, I think, some really good lessons to talk about. So let me just kind of start there. I'll throw a question out to the room. You know, one of the things that I think sometimes surprises foreign investors is that investment attraction is such a bipartisan endeavor. And so I'd like to ask our panelists to kind of talk about how you work with your legislatures, how you work across the aisle in your state to make your state a more attractive investment destination. Maybe Governor Youngkin, I'll start with you.
Well, great. Thank you, Ryan, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to America for those of you who are here to look at investing, and we all deeply appreciate that. I'll just remind everyone that if you landed at Dulles Airport or at National Airport, you landed in Virginia, and so thank you for coming to Virginia. And for those of you that do not have operations in Virginia yet, there's still time. And we would welcome you to invest in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. One, I think the hallmarks is the fact that Virginia works consistently in a bipartisan way. I am a Republican governor. We have a Democrat-controlled legislature. We have a mix of senators and congressional representatives that, in fact, reflect a common desire to get things done in the Commonwealth. And I think that's why we're consistently ranked near the top and best places to do business, is because we focus on outcomes and getting things done. That's why we have focused intently on making sure that we have shovel-ready sites with $300 million of commitment to make sure our sites are ready. That's why I think we have one of the best energy policies to make it affordable and reliable and increasingly clean. That's why I believe we have the best workforce in the nation, with not only universities and K-12 education that were ranked #1 by CNBC last year, but also an incredible pathway for the skilled trades. And finally, why I believe that our infrastructure is second to none, with our port most recently rated as the best operating port in America, and it will soon be the deepest and widest on the East Coast. I think this combination of long-term commitment simply reflects the fact that Virginia is focused on getting things done, and we don't really fight about politics. We argue about how best to serve businesses, our workforce, and the increasingly growing number of people that are choosing to build their lives in Virginia.
Pass it on.
Was that the
All right, I'll jump in. Yeah.
Similar commercial.
We can clap for you. I'll jump in. First, I'm really happy to be here. We come to SelectUSA every year. The state of Michigan does. We have a large presence here. We're really proud of the story that we have to tell, and hoping that you will engage with us and inquire as to what is possible in Michigan. We are very proud to be home of the Great Lakes. Michigan looks like a couple of hands on the map. We like to say we're America's high five. It is a place where people came to for opportunity from all around the world, for a great job in the auto industry that landed you in the middle class and created opportunity. We are the home of 20% of the world's fresh surface water, some of the finest institutions on the planet. And we've seen an incredible amount of growth in our economy, where there were only a couple of battery plants in the United States just a few years ago. There are over 30 now. 6 of them are being built in the state of Michigan. And so this is, I think, we're on a cusp of some really fantastic strides that are happening. And we're problem solvers in Michigan, home to the highest percentage of engineers in the country per capita. So I think that as we look at the rich diversity in a state like Michigan and the future, making sure that people understand that there is opportunity in our state. We're making investments in our workforce. We've got the top skills attainment in the country right now, according to the Department of Labor, and we're very proud of that because we know as industry changes, we've got to be a state of lifelong learners. We have to be nimble, and we have to, I think, move quickly. And so I think Michigan represents all of those things and a whole lot more. So I'm grateful to be here with all of you, grateful for the opportunity to have so many meetings on my calendar over the next couple of days, and invite you all to the Michigan booth and to the Michigan reception as well. Hope to see you there.
Perfect. Thank you. Governor Pritzker?
Well, I'm proud to say that I come from the state of Illinois, and we're the 5th largest economy in the United States, $1 trillion GDP. We have a massive workforce that is highly talented, some of the best universities, the 3rd largest community college system in the entire nation. And we've seen over the last number of years a massive inflow of business opportunities, particularly industrial. But remember, we're home to 32 of the largest companies in the entire United States, both in Chicago and around the state of Illinois. So we're proud to be welcoming to business. We bring a whole lot to the table. I share with Gretchen Whitmer the fact that we're in the center of 20% of the world's fresh water. That's something that unfortunately will increasingly be in demand and scarce. So being in Illinois means you have access to that. We have some of the most fertile farmland in the country. We're the largest producer of soybeans and the 2nd largest producer of corn. I was a businessman before I became governor, so important to me is how much electricity, how much energy are we producing? We're actually the largest state for clean energy. One of the reasons for that is that 53% of our energy is produced by nuclear reactors in our state. We have the most of any state. We also have put in place a Climate and Equitable Jobs Act that's increasing our wind and solar. So that's doubled in the last 2.5 years since we put in place a new law that will end fossil fuels in energy production by 2050 in my state. But I want to be clear to all of you that we are a state that brings workforce, energy, great sites. Just like Governor Youngkin, we invest in our sites to make sure that what you're looking for is available in the state of Illinois. So I'm very proud of the work that we've done to lift up the economy, especially post-pandemic, when we've all been at the job of figuring out what the future looks like, remote work and everything else. But Illinois is the center, the heart of the nation. We have all Class 1 railroads, all 7 of them, running through the state of Illinois. We have the most extensive transportation system. So if you want to build a factory and send your goods all over the United States, Illinois is the place to be.
Governor Lombardo?
Well, good morning, everybody. I'll go back to the question. I didn't know we were doing the Chamber of Commerce here. But the question was the political environment in the state of Nevada. Similar to Governor Youngkin, I'm a Republican, and I have a majority Democratic legislature. So the key to that and moving the economy forward and the state forward is communication. And I'm very proud of what we were able to achieve in the last legislative session as a result of that bipartisan effort. I think that's a big topic, and the reason why it was asked is because if the legislature and the administration and the executive branch of the government don't get along, it creates an environment of waste for you. Your business doesn't have the ability to open. You don't have the ability to process it. You don't have the ability to receive goods or provide the resources that the state provides to your business environment. And Nevada is conducive to that. We have a very robust communication systems across the aisle on both parties associated with business environment. And we have space. And for those of you who may not know, we have a lot of sun. We're going to talk about renewable energy, I'm sure. So Nevada is conducive to renewable energy. So mining, renewable energy, lithium, battery manufacturing, and renewables. And recycling associated with that whole business model. That's Nevada. That's Nevada, and we're open for business. A lot of things you deal with in the other states as compared to the state of Nevada is regulatory environment. We are open for business. I'll repeat that 100 times throughout the next 3 days. We are open for business, and we will create an environment to make it easy for you to put your roots down in the state of Nevada, develop your business model, and transport it, because we're right next door to one of the largest economies in the world. And I won't mention the name of the state, but I'll let you figure it out. But those products that you produce have to go somewhere, and we have the ability to move them with ease within the state of Nevada.
Ryan, could I just add one more thing? I think having four... You know, the fact that you have 4 governors up here and you ask this question, we have to get things done as governors. You know, we can't, Congress, they can talk all day and all night and fight with one another. We actually have to deliver for the people of our states. Republicans or Democrats, we have to deliver. And you've seen, I think, that one of the reasons that all 4 of our states are succeeding is that we are forward-thinking, we're, get things done. And if you show up in the state of Illinois, as I'm sure is true in the other states, but if you show up in the state of Illinois looking for an expansion of a business, a relocation of a business, we're going to provide you with the custom service that you need to make sure you have the workforce that you're looking for, the site that you're looking for, the electricity you're looking for, the utilities overall that you're looking for, and because we have to, because it's our job to deliver for our people.
Exactly.
Super helpful. It's very clear that you guys know the commercial pitch for your state like that, so very, very well done. Let me ask another question, because over the last couple of years, there's been some major pieces of legislation that have passed, right? There's the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, there's the CHIPS and Science Act, there's the Inflation Reduction Act. Industrial policy sort of measures that are really driving investment in this country, all over the country, in a lot of different sectors. At the Commerce Department, $50 billion to sort of revitalize semiconductor manufacturing in this country. I'd like to sort of throw a question out to the group, and whoever wants to answer can sort of take the lead. But sort of how are you thinking as a governor of your state about sort of driving investment into key industries of the future and what that might entail?
Why don't I start? I think it's picking up from Governor Pritzker's comments. The first thing you do as a governor is you have to set a strategy. I came from the business community as well, and the first thing you have to do is lay out the strategy for your company or your state. And that requires us to first understand what are the key ingredients that are necessary for a vibrant business ecosystem. And you've heard us talk about them. It's critically important to have a world-class infrastructure and transportation environment, world-class workforce, world-class business ecosystem from an environmental and regulatory standpoint. Virginia's a right-to-work state. It's really important that we, in fact, promote free labor so they can choose whether you want to be in a union or not in a union. All of those are critically important. But we also have real advantages in certain sectors, and that has been one of our key objectives in Virginia. One of the things that we know is we have to have connectivity, and one of the opportunities out of all of the bills you talked about is to finalize connectivity across Virginia. We were the first one to get our broadband initiative applications in, and we now are marching towards making sure the entire Commonwealth of Virginia is connected to high-speed, low-cost broadband. Really, really important. It promotes education, it promotes workforce development, it promotes flexibility. We also know that there are sectors that we particularly have advantages in. Advanced manufacturing has been on a rapid increase in Virginia as our workforce, which is one of the most highly talented, highly educated workforces in America, combines with the strong push that we have made in skilled trades, really coming from our foundation at Newport News Shipbuilding, but moving across the whole Commonwealth, and now really supporting companies like Lego that have chosen Virginia to build their advanced manufacturing in the United States, but also in research. And so life sciences has been a huge part of our initiative in the pharmaceutical manufacturing, all the way back to translational research in our universities. And then finally, the big push to make sure we have secure supply chains in the most important sectors, in semiconductors, and our vast, which we call our Advanced Semiconductor Technology Initiative in Virginia, to bring together all of the research all the way through to manufacturing and advanced packaging capabilities is hugely important. The efforts that we have brought in the world of advanced computing, and particularly quantum computing and AI, have been very important, particularly in Northern Virginia, where we have the largest data center market in the world and the largest cybersecurity workforce. And so all of this combines to a targeted effort to make sure that we're delivering a customized solution for industries that we think can thrive in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I think that's the role of a governor, is to step back and say, where do we need to invest? And this basic theme that governors lay out strategies and then work across the aisle, work with all the capabilities in our states and the federal capabilities, is so important.
Thanks.
And I would add that, our economic strategy in Michigan, obviously people always think about mobility when it comes to Michigan. We put the whole world on wheels. We're very proud of that and proud of the role that we've played in terms of advanced manufacturing. That said, that is continues to be an important part of our ecosystem and our economy. I would add that there are so many different pieces that are coming from that, whether it is in aerospace, whether it is in terms of life sciences. One of the proudest moments, I think, during the pandemic that we were all struggling with was we were able to steal a headquarters from a fellow state that wasn't following science during the pandemic. When you're in the life sciences, you want to know that you're going into a place that embraces and supports science and scientific investment. And so we were really proud that we were able to secure that. When the world was waiting on vaccines, I remember watching all the vaccines roll out of Pfizer's plant in Kalamazoo, Michigan. UPS and FedEx trucks showing up to bring the vaccine to around the world. So these are all, I think, really important pieces of what is obviously happening in the economy. But what is not is we have the second most diversity when it comes to agriculture in the country. Comes out of the state of Michigan, a state that actually has winters. We still are able to boast that we've got the second most diversity when it comes to ag. And so as we are thinking about what does the future look like, deploying the resources that the Biden administration was able to get done. Every administration talks about infrastructure week, but this administration was able to send so many resources to the states. So bringing down the cost of energy that is more efficient, ensuring that we are building affordable housing is a huge effort that is happening all across Michigan right now. We're achieving our goals and early, and so we're setting even more aggressive goals when it comes to that aspect as well. And so each of these is a piece of what we're able to deliver, and partnership with Washington, D.C., the ability to work across the aisle is something I'm proud of that we've been able to do in Michigan, and it's a necessity. You don't get anything done if you're not talking to one another, and I think that's always the vantage point. And then the last thing I would share is we think about the future of the economy, and we think about the workforce and the investments we've made in our workforce, but also making Michigan a place where people want to come to and build a life. An affordable cost of living, a high quality of life, a place where all people are respected and protected under the law. You can make your own decisions in a state like Michigan. These freedoms also are important to the future of work in this country and workforce, and I'm proud that we've been able to show that we're on the right side of all those issues in Michigan.
You want to keep going in the same order?
Let's mix
I'll
it
be
up.
happy to go. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. Well, thank you for the opportunity. So, yeah, as far as investment, so I want to build off what Governor Youngkin said as far as the strategy coming into the office, right? Previously, everybody knows the economic driver in the state of Nevada in previous decades, okay? It was gaming, right? And everything in the economy was concentrated around that particular industry. And then upon taking office here last year, I said we have to have a strategy for economic development, exactly what he opined on. And that strategy is to bring us out of one economy to several economies. We had probably a bad experience as a result of COVID and having all our eggs in one basket. We soon learned post-COVID that it was a demand. Every governor that comes into office, their number one piece of their platform is economic drivers, right? Economic development, diversity of the economy. But now we realize in the state of Nevada we have to make a change in that, and we've done it. So since January of last year, we've had $5 billion of investment within the fabric of the state of Nevada. And what is that fabric? Is the infrastructure that we were talking about, a significant investment into the logistics and transportation hubs through northern and southern Nevada so we can address all parts of the country. Broadband placement that was mentioned, that is now, the shovels are in the ground. The connectivity to all the rural parts of the state of Nevada where all the mineral resources are being mined on a daily basis that supports the world economy. That connectivity is now in place. And recently, I'm very proud to mention Brightline West, which is a high-speed train. America is getting into the high-speed train business. And the largest and the fastest train that is going to be provided to the western United States is going to start in Nevada and go into the Rancho Cucamonga area of California. And what is that based on? That's transportation of goods, existing rail systems, and ability to increase upon, unfortunately, tourism, even though we are trying to expand on that. But bring it back to Nevada, minerals, exactly what we're all probably sitting in this room here today to talk about how we're going to process lithium, the EV environment, and recycle everything associated with that. It's all occurring in the state of Nevada.
So I think for a state to win, you've got to determine what you have a right to win at. If you want to drill for oil, you're not coming to Illinois. But we have a right to win in things that come naturally to the state, our location. If you want to access the North American market, being in Illinois is the best place to be. As I said, we've got the infrastructure. In fact, we passed a massive infrastructure bill in my first year in office, 2019, before the federal government got around to it, $45 billion to modernize our roads and bridges and rail and waterways, our ports. And then the federal government got in the business of it and added another $20 billion on top of our 45. So virtually everything in Illinois has been upgraded from an infrastructure perspective. But we had a right to win because of our location in transportation, distribution, logistics. We have a right to win in agriculture because we've got some of the most fertile land and fresh water and in a number of industries that rely upon fresh water. But I want to focus on not the things that come as a result of the natural aspects of the earth and the luck of the draw of being in Illinois, but the things that we focused on in our state that now are major advantages. The fact that we produce more electricity than we use. We're a net exporter of electricity, and most of it is clean. The fact that, and that's something we invested in our state, the fact that we have some of the best universities in the entire world, University of Chicago, Northwestern University, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, University of Illinois, Chicago, those are all R1 research institutions, and out of those institutions come some of the most important developments that are affecting all of our lives and will for the next century. Over the last 30 or 40 years, it was the development of the internet. Most of that development came out of the University of Illinois, the supercomputing that occurred there. I'm not claiming that we invented the internet. Some other people have done that, but PayPal, YouTube, the list goes on of companies. The first internet browser came from Illinois. Now, today, the University of Chicago, Northwestern, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign are leaders in the development of quantum and AI. In fact, we've received more dollars than any other state, more grants than any other state in the development of the quantum ecosystem. And we intend to be a world leader in quantum computing, quantum sensing, quantum communications. Those are all things that I think we have a right to win at because of the investments that we've made in our major universities, our R1 institutions. But we also have the right to win, in my view, because we've attracted enormously talented people and educated them well. And so if you're looking for anybody from a PhD scientist all the way to a talented advanced manufacturing worker, we've got all of that with the second best education system in the entire country, and the investments, the increasing billions of dollars of increased investment in our education systems.
Yeah, great answers. And you can tell that sort of across the board that you guys are kind of thinking about these issues. I think it comes across really clearly. Let me ask you guys a question about workforce, because when we think about building things in the United States, when we think about advanced manufacturing, Governor Youngkin, you talked about, you need a workforce that can handle those jobs, right? That are ready to succeed in those jobs. How do you think about workforce development? And that I'd like to kind of broaden it out to both education, right? Educating tomorrow's workers, and also training today's workers for sort of the jobs of tomorrow.
Yeah, as I've traveled around the country and the world speaking with businesses, I hear three things every time that are at the top of the list for folks: workforce, 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 talent, talent, talent. Workforce, 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 talent, 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 and workforce, 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 talent, talent, talent. And then right behind them are energy and power and sites that are available and a great place to live and good infrastructure. But talent is always top of the list, rightly so, because it determines everything, everything. And what you're hearing, of course, is four governors who understand that. We believe strongly that talent comes in three distinct areas. Number one, education. How are we building the talent of the future? That's K through 12. That's actually pre-K, and that's our university system. And I'm always so proud. Virginia, as I said, was ranked number one in the nation in the CNBC poll last year in best education. And we have had record investment every year of our administration in our education efforts, which combine pathways to our great universities, but also pathways to go right to work. Our community college system is extraordinary, and we've partnered to make sure that Virginians who want to go straight to work can actually receive an industry-recognized credential, can be trained to go right to work with industry-recognized training programs and certificates. Hugely important. Second big piece is, how do we bring talent from other places? And we have passed extensive universal licensing legislation. So if you have a license in another state and you want to come work in Virginia, come on. We'll take you and put you right to work immediately. And then the third part of this is customizing skills to the needs that companies are telling us that they want to see in their workforce. And in today's world, that is injecting a big element of technology in everything. And so how do we blend together those efforts to make sure that, yes, we have the most advanced skilled trade education system in America, and it is incorporating the necessity to make technology a core part of this. And that has been part of our overall curriculum redesign across the Commonwealth, both in our K through 12, but also in our university settings. And I have to say it works because we've been so pleased to see a record number of Virginians join the workforce. We have the most Virginians working ever in the history of the Commonwealth. We have more jobs that have been created than in the history of the Commonwealth. But most importantly, we see companies saying, yes, these are the kinds of people we want to hire. Critically important to match the development of workforce both today in training the current workforce, but also building the one of the future.
I am determined to mix this up, so I'm going to
take that one because I think Mr. Youngkin's been in my conference room. You got listening devices in there? Because exactly to the T is, I'm sure all of us and all the other governors that aren't here today are approaching education as the key to success into the future. So when I ran for office, one of the key pillars of my campaign was education. To be successful into the future, education, to build off the talent. And that's where it comes from. The foundational piece is education. So as, putting the money where my words are is I've made the largest injection into the education system in the state of Nevada, in the history of the state of Nevada, knowing that we have to occupy those jobs into the future. And it's the retooling of the curriculum. We've been in this hierarchical, this doldrums, this historical form of education, especially at the higher education level, the university and college systems, on how we approach jobs into the future. There's nothing wrong with the other, directions that people want to go individually, but for us to be successful in quality of life for your families and high-paying wage jobs, the retooling of the curriculum was necessary, and that's exactly what we did. We went back to its infancy, reevaluated and what we were going to produce into the future, and actually putting that down on paper and having accountability that goes along with it. For us to be successful. We realized that was the need in the state of Nevada. We have put that backbone and that foundation into place, and I'm expecting very positive success here in short order. And just that knowledge of where we are going as a world and as a country and as a state, and to be able to bring it down to K through 12, higher education, is the important piece. And we have that vision. We have that vision, and we're moving forward with it.
Go ahead, JB.
Workforce is the most important thing we have. We don't, that Beverly Hillbillies song, up through the ground come a bubbling crude. We don't have a natural resource that we can just dig up and sell, and there you go. We've got a lot of revenue in our state. It's the quality of our workforce that really matters, that attracts all of you to Illinois. And that starts not at the university level, though that's hugely important, and I bragged about that earlier, but actually in the very youngest years. That's investments in early childhood development before you ever get to preschool, and then universal preschool. So we've made massive investments in early childhood. It's something that I've been involved with for 20 years before I became governor. I worked at it at a national level with Republicans and Democrats, and in Illinois, we're basically doing precisely what I have been trying to get the rest of the country to do for so many years. Those early investments are not just good for the workforce of 10 and 20 and 30 years from now when these kids grow up, but also for the parents of today who are workers. And when you talk about it, and it particularly affects women, but it's true of parents across the board that if we don't have childcare available and it is not affordable, that parent isn't working. And that means our workforce is hobbled. Well, that's not the case in Illinois. We've invested massively in childcare, in preschool, in making sure that there's universality to it. So we have the maximum and best workforce that we can have. I also want to say that we've been named, since everybody's bragging about their rankings, we were named number one in workforce in the Midwest, and we in particular, have a workforce that is focused on manufacturing and on product development in a variety of industries. Illinois does not have one industry that dominates. In fact, no industry in Illinois has more than about 14% of our economy. So we have finance, we have manufacturing, we have life sciences, we have quantum, we have advanced computing, and so on. And it's one of the things that makes our economy stable, and one of the reasons why people stay in Illinois, why people want to be in Illinois. And so when companies like yours or people that you represent are thinking about where they want to locate, and they're talking to anybody, I think they would say about Illinois that we have the most stable and best educated workforce for the kinds of industries that you're looking to locate in the United States.
I think anyone who's been watching this can tell governors have something in common. We all brag about our states, and we are the top salespeople for our states. We're also the ones that set the agenda and make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable as the people will hold us accountable. And I do think that that's where we get stuff done, is at the state level. And so I'm glad to be sitting here with my colleagues. I would just share, in Michigan, I think the greatest strength is our workforce. I was chatting with a few leaders in business who've got presence in other states, and they were observing that Michigan workforce is proud, takes pride in their work, and they thought that that was something that set us apart. And I thought I'd just share that because I see it all across my state. Whether it is the investments that we're making in early childhood so that we are setting our youngest Michiganders up for a lifetime of health and wealth, or it is the investments we've made in child care, as my colleague Governor Pritzker just said. If a parent can't have a good quality place to send their children, they can't participate in the workforce themselves. And so we've made unprecedented investments from the youngest Michiganders all the way through graduates of our high school so that we can level that financial barrier to go on, whether it's a job in the trades and getting into an apprenticeship, or it is bringing down the cost of higher education, proposing and delivering low-cost skills, whether it's certificates and in our incredible community college system that works with our businesses in Michigan to make sure that they're offering the kinds of credentials that that particular business needs, or the incredible four-year institutions. CTE programs. We've created something we call Futures for Frontliners, people that stayed on the front line and worked through the pandemic, having a free opportunity to go on and get enhanced skill sets. The Michigan Reconnect, which is an opportunity for older Michiganders to upskill, go back to school and get an additional set of credentials or degree. These are all ways that we've made investments in lifelong learners in the state of Michigan. I'm proud of what we've done, but we're always, I think, learning and getting smarter and moving faster and getting better. Talking with our education providers as well as with business that is looking to come to Michigan. These partnerships have been really fruitful for us to meet the needs of business and to ensure that our population has the enhanced skill sets that lead them to better paying jobs, and that serves everyone in the end. So there's a lot of creativity happening in the state of Michigan around meeting these needs and needs for employers, and I invite anyone who is looking to share exactly what it is that you need. My philosophy is if they need us to move a mountain, we're going to move a mountain. If they need us to build a mountain, I'll figure out how to build one. But we want to know that Michigan is a place where we are look at this as partnerships and we build relationships, and your long-term success is our long-term success, is how we operate in Michigan.
I love it. Can I just add one thing? So I just appreciated, Governor, your comment around meeting the business's needs. And I think one of the challenges when you come from the outside into government is it doesn't move at the speed of business. And part of the job of a governor is, in fact, to get us to be responsive in the time frames that you need. I always say to everybody, listen, the spreadsheet has a certain amount of time in it for permitting and the advanced work in order to get moving, and if it takes 4 times as long, the project no longer makes sense. And so we want to make it take half the time or a quarter of the time. And this cycle time of government and increasing it to the speed of business so that we can be responsive to your needs, so that you can in fact have certainty that when you apply for a permit, you actually need utility connections. You need to make sure that you can get your grading plan approved. You need to be able to make sure that the housing development that's going in order to house your workforce all proceed on a time frame that you're used to, as opposed to one that government is used to, is critically important. And therefore, I do just deeply appreciate the consistent theme you hear from us, which is we're going to run fast. And that's what we've done in Virginia, is pick up cycle times. How do we cut permitting times in half? How do we make sure that we have SWAT teams that can bring utilities and workforce and housing and everything to the things that you need? But this is a constant theme, and I will now make a big pitch for America. In America, you will find an abundance of a lot. You will find talent. You will find an abundance in innovation. You will find an opportunity, in fact, for not only your workforce that's here, but people who come in from overseas to live an extraordinary life. But you will also find the very, very best place in the world to build your business. To build your business so it meets your needs at a pace that is consistent with what you want to do. And therefore, I'll make a big pitch, which is, at SelectUSA, we are in fact inviting all of you, come do business in America. Put your investments in America. And you'll have 4 governors here that will compete like crazy to get you to come to our state to do that. But decision number 1 is come to the United States and build your company's future. And then we will all present our best case for you doing it in Virginia or Michigan or Illinois or Nevada. But make that first decision while you're here, and then let us go to work and help you be successful.
Yeah, wonderful. Let me ask a question that kind of harkens back to the first one I asked about kind of working with your legislators and across the aisle. One of the things that we've seen, I think, really effective at attracting foreign investment is the work that states do with the federal government, with SelectUSA, with the Commerce Department more broadly. I think each of your states has worked with the Economic Development Administration, for example. We only have a short amount of time left, so I'll try to keep answers a little short on this one. But I'd like to ask you to sort of highlight maybe a project or two where you've seen the impact of that relationship between federal and state.
I'll jump in on this one. So we recently announced that we're going to be the first state in the country to bring a nuclear facility back online. And it took an incredible amount of work from my team on the ground in Michigan with the company that was selling the facility to the Department of Energy and the Biden administration, as well as people in the local community. So we're talking about every level of government, because these are good-paying jobs that help deliver green energy and keep a community and business, thriving and bringing down the costs, and also in helping us meet our climate goals in Michigan. We've got some very aggressive climate goals. We work with business and all sorts of stakeholders on this policy, and so I think that this is one very clear effort that we are doing to show that it can be done. And when it's done, it helps us meet all the goals that we have and keep people in good paying jobs. So it was thanks to the Department of Energy and the Biden administration that we even have the ability to do this. And these biggest undertakings are hard to do with one party. And we're much more successful when we work together. And so I do think that that's will be a source of pride and maybe something for others to look at as we try to meet this nation and this world's energy needs, as well as our climate goals.
I guess I'll build off the question through the National Science Foundation, we have an application process amongst all the other states, and the Tech Hub piece, and what we call in the state of Nevada the lithium loop. And how do we partner with other states, inclusive of Utah and Arizona, to work on the science, the processing and the recycling of that whole tech hub. So we were successful in the application process via the federal government to fund that education piece, workforce development, and the science that goes along with it through the first phase. But obviously, economic injection takes a period of time, and once you develop it further, there's a request for more monetary support. So we went through the application process again. The Tech Hub is 2.0, and we were successful. We were one of 8 states that have made it up to the finals, and I anticipate we'll be awarded here shortly with the new injection of monetary support to finish that and continue to evaluate that lithium loop and how we're going to support the rest of the United States through that process. But so that's the answer to your question. But I want to go back to what Governor Youngkin said about the entire United States and the workforce development. Governors have a very loud voice in the United States because we look at everything from a business practice as compared to a government and policy process. And the federal government tends to listen to us because we're more practical in that space, I believe. And one of the issues we deal with in every one of our states is the H1N1 immigration issue and the expertise that goes along with the engineering education in other countries, and we're hoping to bring them in here. Or they get educated in our country and individuals are forced to leave. We are, as a country, heads and shoulders moving at a monumental pace to solve that particular issue. And I think we're on the cusp of changing the workforce dynamic as a result of that.
Governor.
Well, I guess I'd have to focus on infrastructure because in Chicago, which is, by the way, the greatest global city in the United States.
After
right?
Detroit.
But in Chicago, we have one of the great airports in the United States, O'Hare Airport, and we're modernizing O'Hare Airport, and that is an effort that required city and state and federal cooperation, and as a result, we will see a massive increase of traffic and, frankly, amenities for people who are coming into O'Hare Airport. It is the hub of cargo, as is Illinois broadly. Rockford Airport, which some of you may or may not have heard of, is the fastest growing cargo airport in the world, and it's in Rockford, Illinois. And all of that is a collaborative endeavor with the federal government. And then I'd add one other thing. I talked about the Class 1 railroads that run through the state of Illinois. Those are carrying goods all across the United States. Most of it converges through Chicago. And the federal government, particularly under President Biden, has made massive investments in speeding up the delivery of that cargo over those rail lines by removing barriers and impediments. That, too, is a collaborative endeavor. So the federal government, working with the state, working with the city, it's hard to do, I think all of you probably know, to engage different levels of government and get them all to work together well. But that has happened for us when it comes to transportation infrastructure in Illinois.
Great. Well, I think about this as a business flow. And so we've had great collaboration again with our 2 Democratic senators and our entire delegation of 11 mix of Republicans and Democrat House of Representatives members. And we work on economic development together. We are the only delegation, I believe, in America that delegation has lunch every month, and they invite me to join 3 times a year, and we talk about what we need to be working on together. And that has translated into a lot of the foundational investments. Our port will be the deepest and the widest on the East Coast when we finish this most recent project. Broadband we talked about, but hugely important to connect all of Virginia. Massive investments in rail and roads, particularly in the corridor down the center of Virginia, which connects to the entire East Coast and East and West in our highway system. And so the infrastructure investments are critically important. That has translated into a great working environment for us to, yes, go and take advantage of the CHIPS Act. And I think one of the largest semiconductors manufacturers in the world who's in Virginia is expanding, and we're looking forward to that, but also bringing new capabilities. And we recently had a European company award Virginia a large manufacturing commitment to build green hydrogen manufacturing in Virginia. But I would then want to take it to the next step, which is so much, I think, of economic development is creating an environment where companies just want to be. And that's why I think we've been so pleased with the many commitments from companies like Lego that chose to come to Virginia because they felt it was the best place for them to locate their U.S. manufacturing without massive federal incentives to do so. They just chose it, and that's really exciting for me. So the net of this is, going back to where I mentioned a few minutes ago, you will get governors to work hard in order to advocate for their states. And that is an important part of your process as well. Please come to the Virginia booth, come to the Michigan booth, come to the Illinois booth, come to the Nevada booth, and make sure that you take full advantage of the fact that your company belongs in the United States, and we will go to work to help you be successful.
Thank you. So we are about to get gonged off the stage here. Before we do, I do two very, very quick things. One is I want to acknowledge my former colleagues at the Commerce Department, at SelectUSA, who work every single day to not just put this event on, this is a once-a-year thing, but work every day to increase investment in the U.S., to help communities grow across the country. So if I could just get a round of applause for the civil servants who work so hard every day on your behalf. And then the second thing is I'd like to thank our wonderful panel. Thank you, governors, for being here. Thanks for all you do for your states. And thanks for our wonderful panel. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done.